We're going to talk about rotations and a specific type of rotation where we're rotating about the origin. That was a clockwise rotation. If we went the other way, that would be a counterclockwise rotation. And for every 90 degrees you rotate, you're basically moving a quadrant. So 180 degrees would be 2 quadrants, 270 degrees would be 3 quadrants, and 360 degrees would be 4 quadrants, or you'd be right back where you started. It's also important to understand our quadrants. We have 4 quadrants, and there's a mixture of positive and negative values for x and y. In quadrant 1, both x and y are positive. In quadrant 2, x is negative, but y is positive. And in quadrant 3, x and y are negative. And in quadrant 4, x is positive and y is negative. And again, this is going to be helpful for us because we're going to start to recognize a pattern of what happens with our x and our y values as we do our rotations. But also knowing where we're going to end up will help us assign the signs to those x and y values. So let's do one. We have a shape. We have triangle ABC. It's in quadrant 2. So A's coordinates are -5, 4. B's coordinates are at -3, 1. And C is located at -5, 1. And again, look, you'll notice that all the x values are negative and all the y values are positive because we're in quadrant 2. So we're going to do a 90-degree rotation clockwise, which will put us into quadrant 1, where all the x values and y values are positive. So now make a prediction on where you think A is going to end up after our rotation. Well, we do the rotation, and A ends up at 4, 5. Now look back to where we started and see if you can start to see maybe what the pattern is between our x and y values as we do a 90-degree rotation. And make a prediction for B and C. Well, B is located at 1, 3, and C is located at 1, 5. And again, look back to where we started, what the B coordinates were and the C coordinates were, and start to see if you can recognize the pattern of what's going on. Because we're going to do another 90-degree rotation clockwise, which will put us into quadrant 4. And I need you to make a prediction on what A and B, where they'll end up. Well, we make the rotation. And A ends up at 5, -4, and B ends up at 3, -1. And again, look back to where we started with this rotation in quadrant 1 and start to recognize the patterns that are going on. Also look back 2 rotations, all the way where we started in quadrant 2, and start to see what the patterns are if we do 2 rotations. So now make a prediction for C. And C is located at 5, -1. Now we're going to make a rotation another 90 degrees. It's going to put us into quadrant 3. So we know something about x and y's there, but we also have started to recognize a pattern. What's happening with our x and y values every time we do a 90-degree rotation. So now make a prediction for A, B, and C. And we make the rotation. And A is at -4, -5, B is at -1, -3, and C is at -1, -5. And notice x and y's are both negatives because we're in quadrant 3. And you can now start to see the pattern that developed as we rotated 270 degrees now, all the way down into quadrant 3. So let's just take a look at all the shapes that we started with and each rotation. And this will allow you to further kind of take a look at it and just understand what pattern is going on as we do our rotations. Now see if you can describe that pattern. Thank you.